I am not an attorney, and nothing in this video or the associated materials is or should be considered legal advice. This video and all associated materials are for entertainment purposes only. Hey there! I bet you like Fallout New Vegas. So I've revamped the entire rule set of my Fallout 4 California Compliance Challenge to make it specific to New Vegas, and we're gonna find out if it's possible to complete the game on very hard difficulty while survival mode is enabled while following all applicable California firearms laws and regulations. I have scoured the California Penal Code to create a rule set that accurately simulates the California firearms ownership experience. What are those rules? Well, the short answer is actually there is no short answer. Just go back to this timestamp and play the video at 1/4 speed if you're curious about this, or just click through to the master document I linked in the description for this challenge. There are a total of 20 rules related to how I can purchase, modify, use, and maintain any gun in this game. There's also a few disambiguations that I'll tell you now. We're following what's called black letter law, meaning we're only listening to what's on the books and not ongoing case law or potential amendments that haven't been codified yet. This is because I, for one, have been following Duncan v. Bonta, which last I checked got reversed and remanded in appeals, which had a lot of dissenting opinions. But then someone petitioned for certiorari, which in layperson terms mean we got the single most complicated answer to what is not really an answer to the constitutionality of certain laws, as well as this not a lawyer can discern anyway. Additionally, energy weapons and their munitions are to be treated the same as traditional kinetic firearms for the purpose of this challenge. If you're really curious about any of these, I have created not only just the master list of rules, but also a complete list of all the guns I am and am not allowed to use in-game, which covers literally every weapon and unique variant across the base game and all DLCs in Fallout New Vegas. Even better yet, this time around I had some help from Triggernomics, a gun shop in Glendale, California, who were kind enough to check my work by telling me if, based on the description of each weapon, if they'd be allowed to sell it to me or not. I'll try to explain the rules in depth more as we go, but if you're really curious, it's all in the spreadsheet linked in the description, which has a tab citing all relevant statutes controlling these rules, and I've even included a couple secondary sources from the Office of the Attorney General of California, which will give you a crash course on firearm restrictions in the state. Also, I've added a handful of rules not related to the California firearms laws, just to keep things fair and interesting. For one, no Boone and Ed-E. It's overpowered and trivializes the first 2/3 of the game. The combination of their companion buffs and their given skill sets turns a lot of traveling the Mojave into a walking simulator with the occasional random kill cam, and we want to challenge ourselves. I can have Ed-E, I can have Boone, but I cannot recruit the both of them and travel with them at the same time. 2. I cannot use any pre-order bonus items from the Courier Stash DLC. Everything must either be disabled at launch or stuffed into a container in Doc Mitchell's house before I leave. 3. Companions must follow all of the rules too, and if their default weapon is not California compliant, such as Arcade Gannon's plasma pistol, I must switch them to use something else. 4. I must give a unique name a la Nuzlocke to all my guns. I can keep unique gun names if I want, but this is more about just having fun with it. And finally 5, I must meet all skill and special requirements for a weapon in order to use it. This one was actually something we added like on the fly early on in the run after some legendary luck. You'll see why in a bit. That's a lot of rules. It actually took me longer to do the research and formulate this rule set than it did to play the whole game. Let's talk about something a little more straightforward. The goals. First goal, I must make it to and win the second battle of Hoover Dam. Additionally, I may not speed check my way out of fighting Lanius. Second goal, I must resolve the quest lines of all minor factions. Even if I choose to ignore a faction, like say the path I take doesn't let me recruit them, even if they idolize me, I can't just go, find out where they are, and then go back and say, nah, let's ignore them. I must complete their quest lines. Third, I must visit Silver Peak Mine and defeat the legendary Cesar. Fourth, I must complete the unmarked quest at Quarry Junction and remove all Deathclaws from the premises. Fifth and final goal, I must completely wipe out the Fiends, here being defined as all named NPCs killed, Vault 3 cleared, and all surrounding areas cleared of the Fiends at least once before they respawn. Okay, that's just about everything. One last thing before we get started. Take a second, remind yourself to reach out to a friend after this video. Whoever it is, I know that we've all had plenty of people in our lives who we grew apart from for no real reason other than life getting busier and busier. And the next thing we know, it's been years since we've so much as said hi to them. I know it can be really hard to make that first move when you're already feeling bad about how long you've neglected to catch up with a friend, but you just gotta do it. Our connections in this world are more important than ever, and it's important to keep in touch with people and remind them that they aren't as alone as they think they are, and that you're still their friend. Maybe set a little reminder on your phone real quick to reach out later this week when you've got a moment of downtime. I think something like this is more than important enough for that. Like many have done before me, I wake up in Doc Mitchell's office in Goodsprings with a killer headache. I answer the questions he throws at me and make sure that he puts me back together just right, and I dump all the courier stash items into the nearest container. I swear I made sure to uncheck all the DLC packs in the launcher, but I guess that didn't quite work out right because I got all the stuff anyway. I think it's as good as a time to tell you now that there is one more especially psychotic element to this challenge. We're playing Fallout New Vegas completely vanilla. I did not install any mods or fan patches when I started, and I have my task manager open on another screen so I can manually purge my memory cache whenever it gets close to the 32-bit limit. We've got more pressing matters though. We need a weapon. We scoured Doc Mitchell's house, which mysteriously doesn't count as stealing during the character creation segment, and we find what's going to be our bread and butter for a while. A kitchen knife. I dub the Meese. We're lucky enough to find some other kitchen knives laying around so we can get Meese to full repair condition, so after stealing everything else of California compliant value from Doc Mitchell, we mosey on out to Goodsprings Saloon to meet Sunny Smiles. I agree to accept Sunny's offer to get me back on my feet for two reasons. For one, we're counting the tutorial as our firearms safety course. And more importantly, this is how we get what will be our first and likely our only gun for quite a while. Meet Lil Gavin. Little Gavin is a varmint rifle that is not only fully California compliant, but also counts as a private party transfer, which does not start the additional 30-day waiting period before we can buy literally anything. We still have to wait 10 days for the private party transfer though, which means I've got to use Meese to put all these geckos in their place. We also get through the tutorial and look for some useful scavenge around Goodsprings before deciding that we'll be fine with just Meese and whatever else we can find that isn't a firearm during the 10-day waiting period, and start advancing quests around Goodsprings along the critical path. I think now would be a good time to tell you about the build we're running for this challenge. Meet John Firearms Law. He is maxed out on intelligence so that he is capable of comprehending the ins and outs of the California Penal Code. He also has a decent strength and endurance stat, since we learned for our lesson from the Fallout 4 version of this run where we need bulk. For this run also, charisma and luck are John Firearms Law's dump stats because, come on, look at this guy. We tag speech, repair, and survival, and take the good-natured and trigger discipline traits since those play into how we're going to be doing the challenge. The intelligence score is the most important part of this build because we really need every last skill point that we can get. So we're starting with maxed out intelligence to get the maximum amount of skill points possible every level, and then as soon as it is available, we're taking the educated perk to get another 2 points after each level up. That is really going to add up as we play the game. It's time to help the good people of Goodsprings. I've deemed it that in order to pass a background check and thus be allowed to purchase a firearm at a vendor, I must be at least liked by the local populace. That's easy enough. I fix the radio at the saloon and then rally the community to fend off the powder gangers. We recruit everyone except for Easy Pete since we do not have the required permits to handle a destructive device such as dynamite, and then proceed to get not just liked, but idolized by the people of Goodsprings by dismembering local menaces with Meese. Then the game crashes, so we have to do it all over again, but that's okay. I've got this cool new baseball bat I'm gonna call the Slapper, which I guess is as good as time as any to bring up that we're only following California codes like we talked about earlier, and that we're sticking to mainly firearms laws because, well, if we went by all possible laws and regulations and legal theories, that'd ban literally every possible weapon in the game and just make this a lawful citizen RP run, which is, well, lame in comparison. The Slapper is going to be a key part of our build going forward, so after checking with Chet to see if there's anything worth buying at his general store, we get disappointed and head towards the Mojave outpost. We pass through Primm, but aside from saying hello to the good NCR soldiers who are stationed just across the street, we keep moving and decide to take on some smaller targets, like these stray convicts first before we do any serious stuff involving fighting a lot of dudes. We have no problem taking the shots of their naughty, non-compliant, like 10mm pistols, and we clear out the outside of this gas station like it was no big deal. Then, I make the mistake of walking inside. The Slapper and Mies might be great to handle 2 or even 3 low-level enemies that don't have much armor when there's enough space and cover around for me to take them one at a time. But when I step into a room full of heavily armored Jackal gang members, I get annihilated. Worse yet, my autosave puts me right back to 5 seconds before I died. After a couple of deaths here, I quickly run out of the building before they can kill me, but now there's a new problem. They just run outside and kill me again, and I can't run away from them fast enough to not get killed. After a few more tries of this, I finally hit the Pip-Boy just fast enough to start fast traveling away before they exit the gas station and limp back to Goodsprings, leaving my shame behind. It's at this point that I accept that I need the power of Little Gavin, and I am forced to use the secret California compliance technique to pass the waiting period: bed rotting. Yep, we're just gonna camp out in this trailer over by Goodsprings water source and sleep for 24 hours at a time, waking up to drink some water and maybe have a little snack, and then just keep doing that until the 10-day waiting period has passed. Lucky for me, I've still got a bunch of gecko meat from the tutorial I could cook up so we don't starve to death, and now it's time to wait out this waiting period. And the game only crashes twice while doing this. After 9.5 days, we are finally allowed to equip Little Gavin and take on the Mojave. There was this guy that ran up to us begging for us to help him rescue his girlfriend from some geckos or something, and I guess he was really patient because he's still sitting here waiting the whole time while we bed rotted. I guess we can go check it out. So, yeah, I can see why this guy needed our help. I don't know if I've been asleep for a lot longer than I thought, or that more radiation-induced evolution has happened recently in the wasteland, but the geckos are flying now. I clear him out all the same, but it looks like I was a little too late to help this guy's girlfriend, and now he's understandably upset about it and kills me. The geckos have decided not to fly anymore because I think that even they thought my bed rotting was such a dick move given the situation that they all team up to beat the tar out of me a few more times. We're on to bigger and better things though. We finally got the means to save Primm from those lawless ruffians and their naughty, non-compliant firearms. It's slow going at first as we have to very carefully work our way around the outside of Primm, as any more than 2 outlaws in a big open space is a death sentence right now. The inside is a much different story. I've discovered how I can make this run work. You see, in earlier iterations of the Gamebryo engine, one of the things you can do is that if you damage an NPC's arms enough, they'll drop their weapon. And I have the Slapper, which makes it, when you attack, that it swings horizontally, always hitting the arms. Meaning, just by keep on wailing on dudes, eventually I will cripple an arm and they will drop their weapon. While outlaws can easily shoot me down at a distance, as Little Gavin can't even beat the damage threshold of some lighter armors, early game enemies are low level enough and weak enough to where not only do they not have a lot of HP in their arms, but also their skills are so low that sometimes they have literally 0 points in the unarmed skill even on very hard difficulty. All I have to do is get the drop on them, get close enough to them as quickly as possible, and then just wail on them until they drop their weapons. Because I'm so close to them, they'll try directly attacking me instead of going to pick up their guns, and I can DPS them down before they DPS me down with their non-existent unarmed damage. I end up being able to clear the Bison Steve Hotel no problem. Also in part because I've been putting some points into repair, I was able to fix the elevator and really get the drop on them that way. I solved some more problems out in the Mojave outpost to help things along with Primm getting some new law enforcement and get some answers to who shot me, or who might have shot me. I don't know, man. My head's feeling funny. On top of sending over a new sheriff to Primm, I am also gifted a service rifle. This would be great if we were doing any other kind of run, and this would be like our mainstay weapon until like Freeside. One problem with that though, it is completely banned for this run. The service rifle features a pistol grip on a long gun, a magazine with more than 10 rounds in it, and is arguably an AR pattern rifle, meaning it is banned for this run in 3 different ways. While this was given to me by an authority figure in the NCR, I am still considered a civilian for this challenge, and therefore must immediately get rid of it. We'll just consider me immediately selling this back to the outpost as a gun buyback. When things have calmed down a bit, I head over to the Mojave Express in Primm, and while the folks there don't tell me a whole lot about what happened to me, they do have this cute little robot that they'll let me keep if I can fix him up.
I have awoken.
Hey little guy, how you doing?
I live 1,000 lives to enforce safe and sane firearms regulation.
Oh damn, I think you'll be a great help in my mission. You wanna come along?
Lead me to the non-compliant guns, and I shall leave naught but ash.
All bits aside, Ed E is a beast of a companion, and more than enough for me to decide that between him or Boone, I'm gonna take him. He also doesn't get as mopey when I take his hat. We head off to Nipton, where we help this nice man feel better about his condition, and then we meet some guys who want us to send a message. They call themselves a Legion, and they're really into the Roman Empire. Ah shit, this is some kind of podcast, isn't it? Fuck it. I want that cool gardening tool that their leaders got, and those machetes aren't half bad either. Time for the old slap their weapons out of their hands technique. After a bit of good old-fashioned violence, we now have 2 new weapons, the perfectly legal gardening tool and this very large pair of hair clippers. Excellent additions to my collection. The perfectly legal gardening tool is great against unarmored enemies as it will cripple limbs and therefore make them drop weapons faster than the slapper, and my new hair clippers are the perfect emergency weapon as it ignores damage threshold. We have to use it sparingly though, as we have no way of repairing it, and it costs a lot of caps to get it fixed at the store. We need those caps to get our head fixed at Doc Mitchell's office, since we're also presently incapable of mending limbs, and this is hardcore mode. I just don't have the medical supplies and skills yet. We get fixed up and back on track eventually though, but we've got a bigger problem. The game is crashing despite my best efforts of manually purging the cache, and it's becoming a problem. In order to mitigate this problem, I changed the game settings to as low as possible to save on memory usage when there's a lot of stuff going on. Most of the graphical changes won't take effect until the next time I boot up the game, but one thing that immediately took effect and was a big help right off the bat was heavily lowering the draw distance. This is great. The game has stopped crashing. However, it comes with one very steep cost. Enemies can now detect me and even shoot at me from well outside of the range that their models spawn in. This means that one ambush that happens on your way to Novac is a whole lot harder, because on top of the difficulty settings and the raiders having much better weapons than me, the high ground where it's hard for me to run up and slap them, I now can't even see where they're shooting from. Thank goodness for Ed E's companion ability, or else we'd be literally unable to find these guys and defend ourselves. Lucky for us though, once we get past the ambush point, there's a caravan going along the route we're taking to Novac. So we tag along, and while we can't see the NPCs ambushing us outside of the draw distance, the caravan guards can. Things are actually going pretty smoothly until the Legion shows up. This is a scripted event, as the Legionnaires will be stationary and neutral until the caravan passes through, but I remain proactive, and through the power of friendship and using the slapper to disarm anyone attacking us, we're able to take down these Legionnaires without losing any members of our newfound family. Everything is going great on the trail to Novac after we defeat the Legion ambush, until I run a bit ahead to scout our path, and everything looks good until...
The Cesar has marked you for death, and the Legion
Oh, Christ! So it got back to those Legion guys that we don't want to listen to their podcast about stoicism or whatever, and now they're out for blood. Thanks to how we're playing on very hard, that means that instead of the usual enemies, Legion veterans and Centurions will spawn in during the ambush events. These are guys who normally don't show up until the second battle of Hoover Dam on normal difficulties, or not at all if you're playing on easier ones. They have endgame stats and endgame weapons and armor to back those stats up. I am presently level 6 and rocking a varmint rifle, and a couple melee weapons that would be really helpful if these guys didn't have armor, but that is not the case. Hold them off, Eddie!
The enemies of safe and sane firearms laws will burn under my righteous gaze.
I run like hell to warn the others and maybe get some help from those friendly NCR soldiers who... Guys, please, we need you right now. The pack problem is doing more damage than I am right now. There is exactly one thing I can do in this situation, and I'm gonna do it. I whoop out the slapper and wail on these guys until they drop their weapons. It doesn't work because the slapper can't get past the damage threshold of, oh hey, he actually dropped his gun. For a thermic lance! Oh boy, time to get whacking. I wail on this Centurion as if my life literally depended on it, and lo and behold, I managed to not only get him to drop his thermic lance, but I managed to grab it before I can pick it up again. This is amazing because that means for one, this Centurion now can't really hurt us, and for another, I have a thermic lance now! This is the single most powerful melee weapon in the base game, and it's not even a firearm, so I don't have to wait 10 days to use it! Holy shit! We managed to just barely defeat the Legion Death Squad, and in remembrance of my fallen found family, I loot all their stuff and make my way to Novac unscathed. Novac seems like a nice enough place. I think I'll make this my base of operations for the rest of the run. I sell all the stuff I picked off the Legion and my former found family to afford some basic staples and medical treatment, and get ready to pass my background check to lawfully acquire a firearm. At the start of the next session, some of the major graphical changes I made take effect, and now, as you can see, the whole game is in potato mode. This is obviously a little much, as now the textures in-game are so low I can't even make out the words on my Pip-Boy, but as an added benefit, I can now raise the draw distance on NPCs just a little, so I might have a chance of seeing them before they see me. Things have been going pretty good so far. We've died less than 10 times, the game has only crashed 3 times, and we even got an extremely lucky drop, which was an end game weapon. After a bit of deliberation, I decided that in order to keep the challenge fair, I'm going to add in a new rule that in order to use a weapon, I must meet all stat requirements for it. Special and skill. While this is arguably a reward for playing on harder difficulties, as it would only spawn from exceptionally tough enemies at this point in the game, and I did get this fair and square, having something like a thermic lance this early could trivialize at least the first third of the game, and that's no fun. So thermic lance is going away for now. I start the process of passing my background check to be able to buy a firearm from Cliff Briscoe's Dino store, which involves protecting some animals with extreme prejudice and asking around town about a guy's wife. Also, I had no way of knowing that this guy would do that if I helped him find the person responsible for his wife's disappearance. My reputation goes up though, and I even get a free home out of it. I decide that I should store the thermic lance and all my other weapons I'm not actively using in the safe that came with the apartment, because that just seems like the thing to do. I still need to increase my reputation in order to pass that background check and buy a decent firearm though, so we gotta do more quests. I need that cowboy repeater on Cliff Briscoe's shelves right now. So it looks like I'm gonna have to go along with Manny Vargas's request and convince the ghouls in Repcon's test facility to leave. I'm gonna go help out these ghouls for another reason. Repcon is full of crafting materials and I need weapon repair kits, as I must lawfully acquire all my firearms, which means no grabbing guns off fallen enemies and using them to repair my own. There's no way I can afford to have old lady Gibson, or anyone for that matter, to be constantly repairing my weapons for a fee, which means I absolutely need to keep my repair stat high and making weapon repair kits whenever possible. There are a lot of things that go into a repair kit, and I keep a post-it note on my desk with all the things that I need so I can keep an eye out for them. Repcon is full of most of the stuff I need, but leaves me with one question. Where the shit is all the duct tape in this place? I have enough of everything else to make like 10 repair kits, but I can't find a single roll of stinking duct tape. I murder my way through all of the Repcon facility, pretend to care about whatever's going on with these rockets, and then clean out the nightkin from the basement, and I can't find a single roll of duct tape in this highly advanced facility with a lot of science stuff. I end up doing the whole quest line for the Bright Ones, getting the obligatory crash when the rockets first launch, and then even finishing the quest again, but there is still no goddamn duct tape to be found anywhere. Not even at the vendors. Give me the duct tape! So I don't have any duct tape for now, but I am well respected enough to legally purchase a firearm. Mr. Briscoe accepts my paperwork, and I finally have my first gun of the challenge. Meet Jerry, the cowboy repeater. This is literally the first gun I've bought in this entire run, and I'm over 10 hours in. I still need to wait 10 in-game days before I am allowed to use it, and a total of 30 days before I am allowed to purchase another gun. This is one of the reasons why I chose to skip buying anything at the Goodsprings general store, because I really need to make these purchases count. I also can't buy anything from Primm yet, because I resolved the Primm sheriff issue by requesting the NCR send someone over, meaning Primm is now NCR territory, and I am not nearly able to get liked by the NCR this early in the game. I decide that it should be smooth enough sailing from Novac to Freeside to wait until I'm at the Atomic Wrangler to do my bed rotting. I had forgotten that the Legion was out to kill me. The Legion had not forgotten about me. I was gonna check Helios 1 to see if I can't pick up some more rep by doing that lucky old son, but oh boy, here they come! The Legion kill squad is especially rude today because on top of rocking my shit and making me burn through almost all of my new ammo for Jerry and healing items, they straight up killed the NPC I need to talk to in order to start the Helios 1 questline in favor of the NCR, preventing me from getting that much needed reputation boost. I can still go inside as I'm neutral with the NCR, but the most I can do is talk to Mr. Fantastic and poke around the solar array. These Legion assholes don't even have another thermic lance for me to repair the one I've got back in Novac, and now they've locked me out of earning the NCR rep I need until I can get to Camp McCarran. I guess I'll go bedrot then, since it looks like I'm gonna need Jerry if I want to make it to Freeside. Okay, so lucky for us, we have a nice new apartment to bedrot in that even has its own source of water, even if it is a little on the spicy side. All we need to do is cook up enough food so that we can bed rot for 9 days and change without starving to death. Lucky for me, I scored some more gecko meat, helping the ghouls go to space, and my survival skills plenty high enough to cook it, so that gives me the hunger restoration I need to make it through the whole mandatory 10-day waiting period. I honest to goodness forgot where the nearest campfire was, so I traveled to the last place I saw one, which was the Nipton trailer park. The Legion is straight up hiding behind one of the trailers there waiting for me, and I take another couple of deaths because there are no caravans or friendly NPCs around to soak up the damage for me. Okay, Nipton is a no-go. Well, there was also a campfire on the road to Nipton, so I guess I'll go there. Guess who literally teleports into existence from just around a blind corner like this was the release build of Cyberpunk 2077? Yep, it's the Legion Kill Squad. I must have really pissed off the Legion because they are basically anywhere that isn't a major settlement or an area where other enemies are present. I ended up having to go all the way back to Goodsprings, where the campfire that I originally bedrotted at was at, to cook my food in peace before heading home. Well, at least that killed like a day and a half of the waiting period. Finally, we can bed rot in peace. The bed rotting also has a happy side effect of repeatedly restocking all the in-game merchants, and now Old Lady Gibson has a ton of duct tape for me, so now I have a ton of weapon repair kits. I spend about 8.5 days in bed, only getting up to drink some water out of the sink and nibble on some gecko steak, and voila, we are now allowed to use Jerry, our cowboy repeater. Jerry's great. He does more than enough damage to be able to reliably take down humanoid enemies, as we tested out on this roving gang that was planning on ambushing us, and
The Cesar has marked you for death.
oh crap, the Vipers were the bait. It's the Legion. On the bright side, at least Jerry is able to reliably get past most of the Legion assassins' damage threshold. It can't quite dent the Centurion armor though. I come to the conclusion that we need to be constantly moving between major areas if we want to have any hope of surviving. This is a pretty bad deal, as if I don't stop to fight things and do quests between city hubs, I can't get the experience I need to level up and stand a better chance against the Legion assassins, so we're just going to have to subsist on whatever quest we can find in major city hubs for leveling up for quite some time. AKA, once we are in Freeside, we have to do every possible quest there before we can leave. It's still a long way to New Vegas though. Lucky for us though, after resolving the situation at Boulder, I am tolerated enough by the NCR to where I am allowed to rest at their controlled locations. It's a big stretch between the next major location we got to, the 188 trading post, in Freeside, and I don't want to accidentally summon the Legion Kill Squad at 188, so I head to where I think is the safest possible place to rest for the big trip, an NCR Ranger Station. I introduce myself and they don't immediately tell me to leave, so I take care of my food and water needs before getting a full night's sleep. And the fucking Legion spawns inside of the NCR Ranger's tent. It's a bloodbath. I'm glad I saved my set of perfectly normal hair clippers for this emergency, because I end up needing to use it to do any damage at all to the Centurion assassins, because it's literally the only thing I have that passes their damage threshold, since, well, it ignores damage threshold. I end up using my hair clippers until the condition completely zeroes out and now it's broken. I cannot use it again until I amass a shit ton of caps, which I need to have a vendor repair it, or I find another ripper as a drop or in a store to repair it with, which isn't gonna be for a long time based on my level. I just barely survived this encounter, and all but one of the NCR Rangers is dead from this ambush. Unfortunately, it's the one Ranger who had the cool armor I was hoping to scavenge. Kinda sucks. Knowing there's going to be at least one day between now and the next Legion ambush, I head over to the 188 trading post. I can't really buy any guns here since I've deemed this to not be a licensed firearm vendor. Like, look at this, they're literally selling unaccounted for surplus off the back of a truck. Nothing about this is legit. I can, however, make a new friend. I'm looking around for some non-firearm things to buy, and oh my goodness, it's Codex from the critically acclaimed web series, The Guild! Codex is happy to tag along as she's currently grinding rep points for late game drops anyway. Unfortunately, even with more ammo for Jerry, Codex's help, and brother Eddie, the Huntington Beach pattern death robot, we are still flattened by the first Legion ambush that hits us mere minutes after leaving the 188 trading post. Change of plans. There's some cool high-level loot nearby that we can get for Codex that might just give us the survivability we need to make it all the way to Freeside. It's just a bit of an uphill climb to get it. We need to go down to Black Mountain. We don't need to clear the whole thing out. We just need to get to the Centaur pit. There's some gear at the bottom. We need to grab it and get the hell out. This isn't too bad, as it's only a handful of super mutants we need to get through to get to that pit and the centaurs. My VATS glitches out for a bit, but it was really just showing off Ed E's righteous crusade against illegal assault weapons.
I suffer not one unregistered firearm or 1,000.
The centaurs are scary at first, but then you realize they have no damage threshold and a whole lot of limbs, meaning that my perfectly normal gardening tool is catastrophically effective against them. The radiation is another story though. I just barely get to the bottom of the pit, grab and repair the power armor, give it to Codex, and fast travel out of there before I die of radiation poisoning, and I'd end up needing to spend what little caps I have left over to get my rads healed by Doc Mitchell, as even all of my radaway that I have right now would not do it. Whatever's left I re-up on ammo, but even though we're completely broke now, we did it! Codex is now fully geared out in not just power armor, but also I had a super sledge that I had found scavenging off Legion assassins, and while I cannot use it because of skill requirements, Codex is perfectly fine for it. I give it to her since she's got the stats for it, and she's ready for raid night. Thanks to increasing Codex's gear score and Ed E's unrelenting fervor for firearms regulation, we are able to run like hell from our nearest fast travel point, the Followers Outpost, all the way to the gates of Freeside. Oh my god, it's beautiful. We need to raise our reputation and pass the background check like right now. Now that we're safely in Freeside, we need to do every quest we can find, not just to rack up experience and caps, but also all the reputation we can squeeze out of this region as fast as possible, because they've got the good stuff in here. We do the rounds. Nick and Ralph's, the Followers, where we meet a new potential companion at this free clinic and laundromat, but Codex is getting the big ick from him, so we're just gonna leave him to his sing-along blogging and decide to do our laundry elsewhere. We hit up the Silver Rush, but we're putting a pin in that for now. And more importantly, we go across the street to the Atomic Wrangler. We don't have the speech skill or the caps to talk to the king yet, but until we do, there are plenty of quests and things to do associated with the Atomic Wrangler and the Followers of the Apocalypse to get us to that point. The main thing we're doing here is the deck collection mission and the Wang Dang Atomic Tango, as they're great ways to easily rack up some caps and reputation. We're a little low on ammo from our travels too, so these mostly dialogue-centric quests are great. We go as far as getting the normal debtors for the Atomic Wrangler and all the humanoid employees for the hotel concierge services. We can't finish the debt collector quest though, because we don't have the caps or the speech skill to get into the strip yet. While we're out, we deal with some of the chem dealers for the Followers of the Apocalypse and buy a creative package of DLL files from Mick and Ralph's. We find and reprogram an innocent robot into the local courtesans for the Atomic Wrangler and call it a night, because while we have a lot of reputation, we still have a lot of work ahead of us. So before we start this leg of the adventure, I had some help from patron, Cat of Streaming, who told me all about the secret technique to download more RAM, the FNV 4GB patcher. After checking it out myself and vetting everything, I ran the patcher, and now my copy of Fallout New Vegas can address up to 4 gigs of RAM before crashing. Crashing sometimes will still happen though, but now we can revert our graphics settings to where we can have a reasonable draw distance and, have textures good enough to where we can see what the buttons on our Pip-Boy says. This is the first and only New Vegas mod I have ever installed, and we are playing this with no other mods, patches that affect gameplay, or anything of the like. We are having the most authentic FNV experience possible, except that it crashes slightly less now. Now that I say that, that does sound like it's a bit inauthentic, but we can't keep playing like this, where we can't see more than 20 meters in front of us. Now that we can play the game with all the textures where they don't look like they got wet before the ink dried on paper and now they're all smudgy, things go a little smoother. This leg of the adventure has a very specific goal. We need to gain levels and reputations to pass the background checks and get better weapons. We're in a place now where we can get all of our guns that will carry us through the rest of the challenge. We just need to earn them by getting the caps to pay for them and also getting the skill points we need to meet all requirements to use them. Lucky for us, there are still plenty of things we can do in and around Freeside that involve either staying in Freeside or immediately fast traveling into another place that we've already been to, thus circumventing the Legion kill squads. These challenges will involve diplomacy, a willingness to do anything for the advancement of capitalistic interest, and working up the courage to talk to women. Our first major task involves two of those things. We head over to the Crimson Caravan's local headquarters, and it turns out they have some work for us. Better yet, most of it involves going to safe areas where Legion assassins can't get us. Admittedly, it's gopher work, like delivering an invoice to the NCR at McCarran, or going to the Mojave outpost and talking to Cass to convince her to give up her company. Well, it didn't go so well last time, and it takes a sec to work up the nerve to talk to her again. And thanks to dumping some points into speech and barter, I successfully hold a conversation with a woman. I can now recruit Cass, but I've got a good thing going with Codex and Eddie, so we're gonna pass on that. Best of luck to you, Cass. Finally, we pop over to the Sunset Sarsaparilla factory and disable a machine that lets people literally print their own caps. Apparently people figured out how to get this thing working again to make their own caps here, and that means free money, and that free money devalues all the money the Crimson Caravan Company is holding. Shame there isn't a way to make this work for ourselves, or if there is, I don't have the skills to figure it out. I scrap the cap machine and get a few odds and ends from it, plus some NCR reputation to boot when I turn the quest in, as I have preserved the homogeny. Look, if it gets me closer to passing the background check, I'm okay with it. We got the levels to put points into speech so we can finally get an audience with the king. Not only is this one of the minor factions I need to resolve the questline for the goal of this challenge, but a quest I've done so many times I can practically do this with my eyes closed. It's really not a hard one. Pass the speech checks, run back and forth to talk to more people, and then pass a couple more speech checks. I hold on to the favor that the king owes me for now for preventing an urban war with the NCR settlers in Freeside, because now my speech is high enough that I can just get the main thing I'd need from him directly. I head over to Mick and Ralph's and sweet talk my way into getting a counterfeit passport to the Strip. It's gonna take some time to get that made though, and I have one more idea of how we can make some XP and caps before we go into the Strip. There is one last place we can rack up some serious XP that's not a quest and not a thing that I have to worry about the Legion showing up to. We can clear Black Mountain. Big ask, because that's a lot of super mutants, but that's also a lot of potential experience points, especially since I can easily get the well-rested perk thanks to my nearby home in Novac, which also stacks with the fast learner perk. There is one small problem with this. We're getting low on 357 Magnum ammo for Jerry. We don't even get up to the mountain proper before I am totally spent for 357. Well, we're already here. I guess I'm storming Black Mountain with little Gavin and a baseball bat. So attacking Black Mountain with my only usable gun being literally the first one you get in the game isn't too bad. It's hard, it's slow, but we're able to get all the way up to where the action's at without dying too many times. There is a workable strategy here. Thanks to investing points into melee since I'm trying to work up to using the Thermic Lance, the Slapper does more than enough damage to clear the damage threshold of the super mutants, but its special ability is just as useful now as it was when I was first clearing out Primm. We slap the weapons out of the hands of every super mutant we come against and make what would be otherwise an impossible fight into something we can slowly but surely fight our way through, with me disarming the muties, Codex tanking them with her super sledge, and Ed E focusing on DPS.
I shall cleanse the non-compliant in the holy light of the Golden State.
And this works. We get to the very top of Black Mountain where little Gavin comes into play. We're presently a melee and short range team, with Ed E presently being the longest range attacker we have, but he doesn't do too much damage and doesn't shoot very far. Heck, our short rangeness has been a problem because sometimes Codex will just crouch down by me and not attack because we're never in range for her to aggro for melee. This was all fine when we were slugging it out with super mutants and Nightkin, who were all either melee themselves or easy to close the gap to, but now we're stuck on one side of a fence with a Nightkin sniper whose long range weapon of choice is an extremely non-compliant rocket launcher on the other. And here comes the challenge. There is one way for us to take this sniper out. We can't get too close to it because, you know, this is very hard and hardcore mode, so even if I somehow live, my companions will surely die, meaning that I'm about to have a sniper tool with a unique rocket launcher wielding Nightkin with my varmint rifle. Alright, you got this, little Gavin. Not all is lost though, because while super mutants have one of the higher damage thresholds in the game, the Nightkin have none whatsoever, meaning I can use little Gavin to run out of cover, poke at the Nightkin sniper's rocket launcher arm, and then by some act of providence, I manage to successfully time my shots so that I can cripple the Nightkin sniper's shooting arm right as they're over the front of the radio tower, causing them not just to drop their rocket launcher, but also drop it off the edge of the radio tower they were standing on, meaning we can now charge in safely and take them out. Then it's smooth sailing for the rest of Black Mountain. we take out Tabitha, turn off the radio, and free Raoul. And with that, we have done everything that we can do that doesn't risk us getting pancaked by Legion kill squads. Our passport should be done by now. And now, after a solid 20 hours of playing and all of 2 firearms to our name, we are finally entering the Strip. Now that I say that out loud, that isn't exactly a long time to go from the start of the game to the Strip, but we've also had to intentionally avoid a lot of the game you'd normally go to, because if we wander around outside for too long, a game of endgame enemies comes around and stomps on us. We wrap up the Atomic Wrangler deck collection quest by forcing the old deck collector to give up his old hat, revealing that he is bald and therefore finishing the quest. I'm not even gonna wear this hat. We've got an open invitation to meet Mr. House in the Lucky 38, and we've also got some business to attend to in the Tops. Mr. House seems like a pretty cool guy, but who I really want to meet is his robot lady friend. We've been able to find a couple snow globes, and we really need those caps right about now. We have a chat with the big man himself, and he tells us to go get the platinum chip Benny stole from us. Oh yeah, apparently this is the guy that killed us or something. I walk out of the Lucky 38 with an extra 4,000 caps in my pocket we're gonna need for basically everything. And this is the part where I screw up. Really badly. I was curious about what happened if I picked the barter skill check option instead of the speech option like I almost always do, and didn't realize that the barter check only gets you into the penthouse suite at the Tops, but it doesn't have Benny come along with you. And the part where I really screwed up was forgetting to make a safety save before I confronted Benny and tried this dialogue option, which leads to me going up the elevator, which updates my autosave, locking me into my little oopsie. It's not all bad though. I meet Yes Man, who helps me get a bead on the rest of the factions I need to resolve the quest lines for this challenge. Codex decides I'm cool enough now to be invited to her guild's headquarters, and upon interacting with Benny and then meeting Yes Man, even if Benny gets away, that triggers the emissaries of all the major factions to talk to me, meaning that my past crimes against the Legion have been absolved. I can safely traverse the Mojave again. This literally opens up the whole game to us. Now that we don't have to worry about getting jumped by a pack of endgame enemies wielding weapons and armor way above what we can handle at our level, I take up Codex on meeting the rest of her guild. They're, damn, nice digs. Can you buy the stuff with dew points or something? This is really impressive. The Hidden Valley Bunker is also one of the only places where I can buy another thermic lance to repair my own. However, unfortunately, they are still really expensive, and even if a thermic lance is not considered a firearm and therefore not under the purchasing restrictions we set for this challenge, Codex's guild doesn't trust me enough to access the vault yet, so even if I'm paying, it doesn't matter. Speaking of thermic lances though, I level up again after discovering the guild's headquarters and now meet all requirements to equip the thermic lance. Even this late into the game, this is a monster of a weapon. It ignores damage threshold like the hair clippers do and does an insane amount of limb damage. This is a massive weapon that doles out a lot of punishment to anyone on the business end of it, and it deserves a name fitting of the amount of human suffering it brings. I dub the 405. I take the 405 to Camp McCarran and pick up the quest related to hunting the leaders of the Fiends because I want to take this baby for a spin. After using Jerry to clear out anyone trying to hit me from a distance, several dozen Fiends wander into the path of the 405 and are horribly dismembered. I then take the 405 to the Vegas ruins where Cook, Driver Nephi, and Violet all meet their end at the 405 in glorious fashion. On my way out, I grab Driver Nephi's golf club while I'm there since I realized I've never gotten the Bioshock achievement on this account. Well, we messed up confronting Benny, and now we need to do some things the hard way. The hard way involves working up to a science skill of 75 among a few other skill checks and getting some serious California compliant hardware. Oh, and Codex asked us if we could help her convince the members of her guild to do the unthinkable and go outside. I don't know, I'd never leave my home either if I had a cool ass gamer dungeon like that. It means a lot to her though, so we'll do it. There are 3 things that Codex thinks can help the Knights of Good leave the gamer dungeon and touch grass, presuming we can find grass in the Mojave wasteland. If anything, I think this part is going to be the easier task of the 2. The first thing is finding, powering up, and activating an orbital death laser. Unfortunately, that's been deemed a destructive device, so that's a no-go. Second thing is some kind of funny gun that the boomers are in possession of and cannot be lawfully acquired, so that's also a no-go. That leaves the third option, which is to go into Vault 22 and copy a floppy of all of their plant information, which we just so happen to have picked up a quest from the NCR at McCarran to go over and do anyway. Looks like we're about to learn about gardening. So Vault 22 is practically a walk in the park for us. Also, come to think of it, I now know where we are going to find the grass for Codex's guild to touch. We should probably make it safe first. Good thing I took the 405 to Vault 22, where it turns out that plant matter does not do well when exposed to a thermic lance. We also have more than enough repair skill thanks to cranking out all those weapon repair kits to repair the elevator, making it easy for us to get around the otherwise labyrinthine vault. We find the data disk we need, and even find the NCR lab assistant who tells us we gotta burn out all the spores by igniting the vents in the lowermost levels of the vaults, which presents an intense dilemma. The quest is hard-coded for the vents to only ignite if you use an explosive. No guns, not even a conveniently placed flamethrower on the residential level, only explosives. We don't have any explosives because all of those are banned for the challenge. The lab assistant Keely tells us she has a bunch of grenades handy, which are double banned, since not only are grenades explicitly banned, but also destructive devices are banned. This is an actual issue, as we can't finish the quest otherwise. After much deliberation, we decide that it's going to be okay just this once, since we are using it as a tool and not a weapon. We take one of the evil non-compliant grenades, chuck it where it needs to go, and only use it as a tool, not a weapon, making sure to clear out all possible enemies first, and the quest gets resolved. We can never do this again. We finish up the NCR quest and head back to Hidden Valley where, they're just kind of standing there. I guess we need to do the other Knights of Good quests in order to fully resolve Codex's arc. Before we head out though, I break north because I need to scout out the location of Silver Peak Mine for later, since we need to kill the legendary Cazador that lives there. I also stop by Jacobstown because, oddly enough, in my hundreds of hours playing New Vegas on my old family PS3, the old Steam account I had way back in middle school and high school that got hijacked before I knew how to get it back through customer support, and this current Steam account I play on, I've never actually been to Jacobstown. I just never went over there because I just kind of really liked the particular path I took, and this challenge run has been great for exploring new things. It's all pretty cool. Lily seems like she would be a good companion if it wasn't for how we're pretty locked into our current squad, and stealth is our dump stat. Okay, let's go find Codex's Lost Paladins. We first head out to Nellis, since that's where a group of them were last sighted, and god damn it, I forgot how to do this. Fucking hell, I hate relearning that pattern. We go straight for the front gate of Nellis and introduce ourselves to the boomers because it's easier to do that now and then try to scavenge the paladins while we're actively being shelled and then having to run the artillery range again to meet them. We also make sure that that power armor that the Lost Paladins had is kept out of the hands of people that might misuse it and who are not us. We'll do the boomer questline later, as we've got a lot more stuff we need to do for now with the Knights of Good. Finally, there's a squad at RepCon HQ that needs looking into. We already found the squad at Black Mountain back when we were getting Codex all geared up, so this is it. RepCon is mostly uneventful, except for the fact that I decided to choose violence regardless of passing the deception check with the robots, because I just need every little scrap of experience I can get, because our plans just aren't going to work unless I can pass certain skill checks. I'll explain soon enough. So we've accounted for all the lost patrols, then we helped out the scribes by removing freerobux.exe from their servers, and then helped out with a missing laser pistol that led me into a literal pit of scorpions. And then, by not only resolving the patrol's quest, but also helping remove the current guildmaster and insert one that's much more open to the idea of going outside, and Codex still won't talk to her guildmaster. The quest is completely broken. Codex will walk up to the current guildmaster, whoever that might be, stand there silently, and then stop at around the time that the dialogue would have ended. The quest stage doesn't advance, I'm not able to do anything to spur it on in any way, and I can't even force it. I tried using the console to run the scene, tried it to force the dialogue to start playing. I tried again going into the console to set the quest stage where it needed to be. I tried going back and re-downloading the data tape from Vault 22. I even tried the suggested fix on one of the wikis where apparently if you repeatedly menu in and out of the Pip-Boy while standing on this guy's little podium thing, this can sometimes restart the dialogue and fix this, but in my case, it didn't. No matter how many times I enter and re-enter this room, or how many console tricks I do, the quest stage won't advance and Codex will not talk to her guildmaster. You know what, whatever, we're chalking this up as resolving one major faction to the best of our ability. Okay, so that part of the plan didn't go as expected. Next part. First, we drop off Eddie at the followers HQ because they need to perform some special upgrades on him. While that's getting done, we're going to do something a little less combat focused. Now that Benny is out of the picture at the Tops, I can go to the other quest, which is there, and start recruiting talent for the Tops' variety show. This one's laughably easy thanks to us basically already meeting all the people we need to go and track down along the critical path. But there's a reason we do it now. We have a barter skill of 50, which means that when we go recruit the Lonesome Drifter, we get a gun! Huzzah! This is the third gun we've been able to acquire while following all California Firearms laws in like 22 hours and change. It's a private party transfer too, so it does not count against the 30-day purchase-like rule. The Mysterious Magnum already has a name, but that's no fun, so I'm gonna rename the Mysterious Magnum to the 5 to go with the 405. We still have to wait 10 days before we can use the 5 though. I guess we're taking the 73. We're not gonna start bed rotting just yet though, as we have one more gun to acquire. Oh yeah, by the way, this quest gets us a pile of caps, which is going to help us buy that gun. We've been collecting a lot of caps because the 30-day waiting period between purchases is coming up, and I have been doing my research. We are well liked enough in Freeside, which gives us the ability to pass a background check for Mick and Ralph's, the Silver Rush, and Gun Runners. Silver Rush is a no-go, as basically none of their weapons are California compliant. Actually, after making a master list of all the guns that are used and game and what is and is not allowed, the only energy weapon that's allowed and also worthwhile to use for this challenge would be the hollow rifle, which would be an elaborate private party transfer from Father Elijah to myself, but also there are no licensed vendors for ammo or anything of the like in all of Dead Money. And that means if I wanted to go and then use the hollow rifle, I'd have to go through all of Dead Money using only the cosmic knife and maybe like the knife spear. Look, I know this challenge is already a little on the nutty side, but I'm not that masochistic. Back to matters at hand though. Mick and Ralph says some good stuff, but the only thing I want from it is really, really expensive. So we'll come back for that later. That leaves Gun Runners, which has exactly what I am looking for this challenge. A high power long gun that fits all the regulations that we need to follow. We're getting us a brush gun. The brush gun runs 45-70 government rounds, which is less than the banned 50 BMG or 60 caliber, and it only holds 6 rounds. It's also a lever action rifle, which means that it gets the boost from both the cowboy perk and the commando perk. Short of springing for the medicine stick, which just doesn't have enough of a damage boost over the normal brush gun to justify how it's one of the single most expensive weapons in the game, this is the hardest hitting weapon we are allowed to own and is theoretically capable of breaking the 100 damage barrier once we get a few more perks. I dubbed this brush gun Arnie, and we start the bed rotting ritual to be allowed to use our Mr. Olympia tier gun, and the 5. Oh yeah, and Eddie is back from the followers.
The ministrations are complete. I have been outfitted at a licensed firearms dealer with the state's most sacred tools to enforce California compliance. Take me to where there is battle.
All the pieces are now in place. We head up to Mr. House's penthouse, trade off one last snow globe for some extra caps, and proceed to hack the security terminal that lets us get things going. I hate the hacking minigame in Fallout. Skills seem to have no effect on how easy or hard it is, and worse, there's no meaningful difference between actually doing what you're supposed to, where you carefully comb through all the junk text looking for brackets, and just selecting the first 3 word choices and closing out the terminal until you get it. I spent nearly 15 minutes doing this terminal the way I'm supposed to, and then when I finally gave up and just started brute forcing it, I got it in less than a minute. The hard part is now over. The Mark I Securitrons drop like a sack of rocks when we hit them center mass with Arnie, and it takes longer to hack the second terminal leading into Mr. House's inner sanctum, and finally, after all these years getting the Bioshock achievement, than it did to clear out all the Securitrons guarding him. With House out of the picture, everything else falls into place. Without needing to worry about Mr. House, I can go to Fortification Hill, pay some lip service to Cesar, and then go into the weather monitoring station to activate the Platinum chip. Caesar's really stupid and thinks we just destroyed the Securitron army, so he just lets us leave after doing that. Now we install Yes Man in the Lucky 38, go through all the stuff with him, and now we can attend to the rest of the minor factions with impunity and without needing to worry about angering major factions sitting on stuff we need to do later. We go back to the Boomers and help them out with their plane, convince the Great Khans to leave for the north instead of getting involved with the Legion, which also has a nice bit of catharsis as the Legion kill squads that are scripted to happen during that quest are level locked and much easier to deal with. And do the Gamora quest, which is extra scary since the game is extremely prone to crashing there thanks to all the items. Also, now that I finally played it, the Omerta quest kinda sucks compared to the other faction quests. Like, compared to everything else that happens in all the others, this is just kinda lackluster. Well, I guess, we did it. I don't even know if this meaningfully changes anything on the strip because we kind of removed the faction that these guys were going to be moving against. Oh, also we take that job at the Silver Rush strictly for the purpose of wiping out the Van Graffs and all their nasty non-compliant guns on behalf of the Brotherhood of Steel. We get a set of power armor for our troubles and the training we need to use it. Codex's quest is still broken. I guess that just wasn't meant to be. You know what was meant to be? Chili time. It's finally cold enough to really enjoy a big bowl of chili, and I've got just a thing for this. Behold, the cookbook. This is a copy of the recipes my mother collected for the family as I grew up. It's got a lot of stuff from pre-lore dump recipe websites, Weight Watchers recipes that were surprisingly tolerable if you allowed yourself to use actual ingredients in them, and a collection of magazine and newspaper clippings over the course of about 30 years. The original recipe for Cheddar Bay biscuits circa the early 90s is in this book somewhere, and one day I will find it. Today though, we're gonna crack open the book and do the family chili recipe that we'd always start making Halloween night until things got too warm in the spring. It's flavorful but not super spicy, which makes it great for not just kids like myself back in the day, but also for warming yourself up during the cold months. And chili dogs. I'm gonna hold this picture of the recipe on the screen for just a sec so you can make sure you have everything ready, and there will be a standalone video of this linked in the description with a full write-up in copyable text and a guesstimation of the nutrition facts. Let's get to it. First things first, we gotta do some chopping. Nothing crazy, we just need to dice an onion, one bunch of celery, some parsley, and some cloves of garlic. For celery, just cut the ribs shortways like you normally do, trying to keep the slices relatively thin, and since we want these to easily fit on a spoon with a little chunk of everything else, we're gonna roughly chop them long ways, not paying too much attention to how uniform the cuts are, just to get them into nice little bits. Once they're in said nice little bits, into the bowl they go. Now we're gonna roughly chop some parsley, which we don't even have to pay attention to how you cut this aside from not annihilating your fingers. Just twist off the bulk of the stems while you're washing them and then pick out any missed stem bits as you put it into the bowl. Now dice your onion by first cutting that sucker down the middle, rounding off one of the edges of each of the halves, peeling the dry skin, and then finally slicing one way pointing towards the end you didn't round off before finally slicing across your first set of slices. Doing this will work with the natural layers of the onion to turn it into finely diced bits. Set that aside in a bowl, which we're gonna use in just a sec. Now all that's left is the garlic, which we apply a little violence to and then cut into little bitty pieces. And that's it, that's basically all the knife work for this entire recipe. Okay, stove time. Get some oil into a large pot on medium-high heat, toss in your celery and onions, stir, and then cover to let it sweat for 3 to 5 minutes. The original recipe says to add the garlic in too at this point, but I don't want the garlic cooking too long and burning, so we're gonna add that in with the turkey. Speaking of, once the veggies are done sweating, we're gonna add in the meat. This recipe calls for a pound of turkey. I bought 3 though. Dump the turkey in with the garlic and start stirring. At first it'll all be mushy for a bit, but after a while it'll start looking like how you want ground meat to look, like after 5 minutes tops. You've got the arm strength to stir a pot for 5 minutes straight, right? Back to the recipe though, once the meat is looking meaty, we're gonna add in the spices we saw in the recipe, which just to say out loud if you're watching on another tab is salt, pepper, chili powder, cumin, and oregano. Stir in 2 cans of diced tomatoes with the spices and then add just enough beef broth to cover everything. Bring it up to a boil, then down to a simmer and cover for an hour. Now we can do everything else. Okay, so we've got an hour to kill, so let's get everything else like just completely done. Starting with the cornbread. You can't have chili without cornbread. The secret technique to making great cornbread is to just follow the instructions on the damn box. I like my corn muffins hefty, so I'm using 2 boxes mixed proportionally and then spreading across 1 muffin tray. We should also get the hot dogs and buns for chili dogs going, which I'm bringing up now to tell you that you can indeed buy the hot dogs they serve in the Costco food court in bulk. They're in this blue package labeled Beef Dinner Franks, and they're usually right next to the bacon in the refrigerated aisle. Get everything set up, and then, when an hour's passed, or frankly however long you want, as the more simmering you give it, the more the chili cooks down, uncover the pot, stir in your beans and canned corn, and then let simmer down for another 15 minutes. Finally, stir in that parsley we chopped up earlier, and that's it. The chili is officially done. You can cook this down more if you wanna, but I'm gonna have a bowl myself right now because I get so excited I get a little cheese in my beard. Now what about chili dogs? You said there'd be chili dogs, Charles. Don't worry, we're about to get right into that. Now the instructions on the bag say to simmer the hot dogs in water for 8 to 11 minutes, which just so happens to be just enough time for what we need to do. You wanna know what the best chili is for making chili dogs out of? Any chili that you simmer down in a pan to better fit on the dog. This recipe, your own recipe, Hormel, Wolf Brand, Campbell's, whatever you use, it just needs to be reduced in a large saucepan for it to get thick enough to stay on the hot dog. Chili out of the pot is great for just eating out of a bowl, but if we put this right on the hot dog, the liquid would soak the bun and everything else would just run off. Chili occupies this odd space in the world of non-solid food, where it's too thick and chunky to be considered a soup, but not nearly as thick and meaty as a stew. There's plenty of water in there that makes the chili edible with a spoon, and if we want to put it on top of a hot dog, we've got to get that water out. So what we do is take a ladle full of the chili like we'd normally just spoon right onto the hot dog per hot dog. I've got 3 dogs I'm making here, so that's 3 ladlefuls. And then we put that into a large saucepan, maybe spraying the pan down a little before you get started, and then you just keep gently stirring that around so everything cooks down evenly, and by the time the hot dogs are done, this chili will be reduced down into the perfect topping for your hot dog. Top that with some more cheese, and look at these things. The full recipe will be on the Patreon, which is going to be free for everyone since this isn't really my recipe, and frankly, I don't even know where this recipe originally came from. It's just always been there. I think this recipe might be older than I am. Also, there will be the quick and dirty nutrition facts on it, which for now I'll just say that a 2-cup or 450 milliliter bowl of this chili runs you a little under 550 calories, the bulk of that being fat since I'm using 85% lean turkey here. But you can easily get that down to around 430 calories if you swap out the 85 for 93% lean turkey. Now let's get back to the challenge. Welcome back. We now have just about everything we need to start taking on the challenges we have set forth in this run. We've got power armor and a companion in power armor and, hey Codex, where did your super sledge go? You know what, if you feel strongly about punching things, you can punch things. Just maybe give me the very expensive weapon I lent to you back so I can like sell it for something? Or maybe just be like Eddie and have your weapons be part of your body.
Take me into battle or return me to my slumber.
Just a sec, okay? We need to talk about hand loading. I finally got my repair skill up to 100, to where not only are all the weapon repair kits I've been making now able to last me the rest of the game because my weapons degrade slower, but it also means that I can take the hand loader perk, which greatly enhances my ability to load my own ammunition. Hand loading is something that's allowed per statute as it's the only way for us to get ammo other than buying it at licensed vendors. The biggest hurdle I have for using Arnie is that 4570 government is very sparse among vendors across the entire Mojave, and even after clearing out all the places that sell it, it leaves me with less than I need for a proper outing. Lucky for me, I can just buy whole jars of powder and primer at gun runners, and I've been holding on to every spent case I've gotten since the start of this run. It's time to recycle. The bonus you get for having hand loader is that you can also make enhanced ammo. It's more of a side grade though. You can make special loads for each kind of ammo, which basically mean that you get a damage multiplier at the cost of having the round wear down guns more. You're not doing anything armor piercing, we're not doing anything that's incendiary or poisoned, we're just loading the bullet extra good. Between this, the cowboy perk, and our gun skill being at 100, Arnie now does over 100 damage per normal shot. Not even accounting for sneak attack multiplier since, well, we hardly ever stealth. We have like no points in stealth. We are ready to start taking on all the goals short of the second battle of Hoover Dam. Let's start with the Fiends since that's already halfway done. We already took out the big 3 topside because someone was paying us money to do that, but we still haven't cleaned out Vault 3. We took a quick trip there for the Conquest line, so they aren't even going to be expecting us to do violence on them. I take the 5 to Vault 3 and get cracking at it. After a while, I get low on 44 Magnum and switch over to Jerry, but even with the much lower damage, the toughest of the Fiends don't stand a chance against me. The hardest part of doing this was figuring out where the heck the guy who had the keys to the cage the traitors are in was. Another bonus on this little outing is that we get access to the chem stash that the Fiends are hoarding in Vault 3. That's a lot of chems! Like a lot of chems. Basically, this is enough chems for the rest of the game. And we're gonna need them. Oh, and now that our skills are more leveled, we did that lucky old sun at Helios 1. I just sent it to the NCR for the rep points. Just felt like we should have got that done. Before the next major task, we need to do some serious scrounging. We need more bullets, which means we need more lead, which means we need more scrap metal from any source we can find. I end up re-looting a lot of places we've been to before, like the RepCon Test Center, where we did the Come Fly With Me quest for anything that can be made into scrap metal or scrap metal itself. It's all going to be converted to lead, which is going to be like the major bottleneck for reloading for the rest of the game. As a side note here, ammo production was something that you could do in Fallout 4, which ironically, despite Fallout 4 being so much more crafting centric than Fallout New Vegas, I never ended up going through with loading my own ammunition during the Fallout 4 version of this challenge because it was just so resource intensive it wasn't worth it. I even built that whole setup for making ammo, but then when I saw the material cost per round, I realized I was far better off just making runs to Diamond City or going mostly melee. In New Vegas, despite this being literally the first time in all of my playthroughs I've ever hand loaded, it's just so much more straightforward that at this point in the game, I'm pretty much using solely my own hand loads and only buying rounds from the store to break them down. Now off to the second non-story goal of this run, Silver Peak Mine. Holy shit, did you hear that? Chonkalish just bolted out of the room. He is scared of the Cazadors. We need to find and kill the legendary Cazador. The first part of that is already pretty hard because there are a lot of Cazadors in this cave. We need to carefully move through the first couple chambers, engaging as few of them as possible so we can take them out one at a time, preferably, before they're close enough to sting us, because we do not have nearly enough anti-venom to be dealing with multiple stings. Wait, actually, I don't think we have any anti-venom at all. Crap. We need to get into an overhang in the main chamber of the cave and, Oh yeah, that's a big one. Lucky for me, I have the literal high ground and can put out some serious damage in the opening salvo. We hit this giant bug pretty hard, and in the chaos of the fight, the legendary Cazador runs away. Yeah, New Vegas AI lets enemies flee from you if a fight is going poorly for them. Remember that. It becomes very important later. We scour the whole cave complex looking for the wounded legendary Cazador, but just can't seem to find the damn thing. I do find this sick Enclave power armor helmet though, so that's pretty cool. Eventually, I assumed that maybe Eddie or Codex got the big one while I was dealing with all the smaller ones charging us, so I decide it's time for us to head out, and holy crap, it was trying to ambush us. This thing was lurking by the entryway the whole time, hiding around a blind corner trying to get us, but thank goodness I had plenty of action points and Arnie at the ready to take it down, because getting stung by this thing would have been real bad. I guess it's nice too that we know for sure that we killed the thing. This has all been the warm-up though. There is one area that actually poses a serious threat to life and limb for us, and I've been using the previous two challenges to figure out some techniques to get us through it. Quarry Junction. We've come up against Deathclaws before off camera when I was bedrotting to pass the time. Waiting for the 5 and Arnie, I ran into a few Deathclaws on the way to the Knights of Goods Guild safe house. It went okay. What I've learned through that encounter I had back then, the Cazadors, and everything up until this point, is that I need to engage Deathclaws from as far a distance as possible, taking extreme care to only engage when I know I'm going to aggro as few of them as possible. And above all else, I need to cripple their legs, or whatever limb my target has for that matter, so that they are slowed moving towards me so we can DPS them down before they get close enough to do any real damage. Things start out pretty well with me being able to one-shot a couple stragglers on the fringes of the quarry proper, and that proceeds to make me get a little too confident and end up getting my shit rocked by the first full-size Deathclaw we engage. We need to take this slow. We need to take every advantage we can get, and lucky for us, we just raided the Fiend's chem stores and have a whole lot of Psycho that I've refined down into Slasher. It's a slow process, and we die a lot. We try a few things to little success, like trying to climb up to the top of the quarry elevator thingy, only to find out that for one, the railing is just the wrong height to where it blocks my view when I try to aim down sights, just too far away to enter vats and shoot Deathclaws, and oh yeah, there's invisible walls preventing you from getting on top of it, because presumably if you can get up there, the Deathclaws can't, and that would kind of be cheap. I still think it's bullshit. We also tried getting the first part of the overhang clear, and then working our way through the lower half of the quarry where the sight lines designs are much better, but we get the mother of all Deathclaw jump scares and decide this is not the way to do things. Our path is clear. We need to carefully creep our way along the overhang of the quarry, waiting for the precise moment to line up our shots to make absolutely sure that we get 2 hits on the leg of the Deathclaw, with at least one of them being a stealth attack bonus. That way when we engage, we are far enough away to... Codex, what are you doing? Codex, no, now is not the time for that. Codex, please, we are literally about to die. This was kind of a thing before, since when Codex is in a melee companion, she just doesn't know what to do with herself at range, and taking out these Deathclaws at range is non-negotiable. We might be in power armor, and I might have both levels of the toughness perk that raises my damage threshold, but we are still playing on very hard and hardcore mode, meaning that Deathclaws hit fast enough and hard enough to where even if they don't one-shot us, it might as well be a one-shot because we go down inside of a second. Against all odds, and Codex is whatever she's up to, we clear almost all of Quarry Junction, save for one group of Deathclaws, the mother and her young. We know how to do this. Above all else, do not touch the young until the mother is dead. Like dead. Not crippled, not a couple shots away from being downed. We don't clean up the last of them until we see ourselves getting experience points from taking down the Deathclaw mother. We get into position and... Wait, what? Yeah, this fight is bugged as hell. I don't know if it's the geography of the map confusing the AI, because every time we try to take the mother Deathclaw down, she either gets stuck in a wall, starts running towards us, and then gets confused and starts walking in circles, or she flash steps to literally on top of us. Hell, there was one time the game just teleported her into the sky a few meters above us. I reload this fight a lot, not just because I'm dying a lot to the Deathclaw mother, but also because a bunch of the times we kill her and it just didn't feel right. The closest we got to a fair kill was one time we shot at her when she was in the water, where I guess the mother Deathclaws have very fast run speeds, but maybe they forgot to give them very fast swim speeds too, and we get the crippled leg on the first try. I think she was supposed to be like in the water too, like on purpose, like it was meant to be her like bathing the young or something. No matter what though, none of these encounters were really satisfying. I decided to just wipe out the powder gangers just because maybe I'll feel better doing that. I did not. It felt very underwhelming. We were arguably way over-leveled for this, though, as the shots from the 5 make these guys straight up explode, and half the time their own weapons don't even get past our damage threshold. I think we're going to need to put in some new challenges. He's getting too close.
Brick it.
Yeah, so while I did decide that we need some more challenges for this run, the universe itself decided it wanted to add to me not being able to complete this run as well. Late in this challenge, I boot up my PC to get back at it, and all of a sudden, all the sound on my computer just isn't working. Like it says it's outputting sound and even receiving sound, but nothing's going out to my headphones or any of my monitor speakers. I try everything, and nothing works until I do a full system restore, and then it's like nothing happened. Thankfully, I had the sense to back up all of my files, including my footage and game saves. Also, apparently this was happening to a bunch of people. Also, it was around this time that like the USB cable connecting to my microphone fried, so there's not going to be any in-game audio from here on out, if there even was any. I've got a couple more firearms I want to lawfully acquire before the final showdown, and these new goals are a great way to earn the caps and loot that'll pay for them. The new bonus goals are as follows. Wipe out a minor faction. We kind of already did that though with the Powder Ganger, so we'll consider this taken care of. Find and defeat the legendary Deathclaw. This is the strongest creature in the base game, and also getting to it will get me a rematch against the Mother Deathclaw. And finally, wipe out a major faction's headquarters. Because is it really a Fallout New Vegas playthrough if you don't turn Fortification Hill into a parking lot? But first, we gotta take care of one last major faction I almost forgot about, the White Glove Society. This is really uneventful though, and is basically me just playing Beyond the Beef quest normally, save for that since concealed blades are banned per California statute, I interpret this as no holdout weapons, meaning I have to go in completely unarmed, which wouldn't change much if I I wasn't following that rule because I have not put a single point into my sneak skill and can't really take any holdout weapons anyway. Then before we take on the big challenges, we may as well be getting some serious caps to do them. I head over to Westside and go down to the Thorn and start taking on the challenges in Bleed Me Dry. Not only does each of these net us a fat sack of caps per egg clutch we find, but there's also a unique shotgun we get at the end of it. Also, it turns out that every stage of this quest gets us a gun, which I totally forgot about, and all of them just so happen to be California compliant and count as private party transfers. But at this point, I am pretty locked into my loadout. I am literally running calculations on what are the most effective uses of my available ammunition and killing power per carry weight, and while stuff like the hunting rifle and especially the hunting revolver are pretty good, Arnie is a far more effective use of my 4570 government rounds, and the hunting rifle just doesn't do enough DPS compared to Arnie or even Jerry thanks to not being able to be a beneficiary of the cowboy perk. We're in this for Dinner Bell, the unique hunting shotgun that with the shotgun sergeant perk becomes very effective at quickly clearing out stuff at a closer range. Really, not a lot happens out of the ordinary, save for me getting caught off guard by some stray deathclaws nearby the spot where we hunt the rad scorpions and accidentally blowing myself up clearing out the Night Stalker cave. The end of this quest line is fairly anticlimactic too, as I just stroll back into Quarry Junction, pick off a stray deathclaw that was hiding from us in the far corner that I missed last time, and grab the eggs with no resistance. It does get me the location of Deadwind Cavern though, and Dinner Bell, which we shall dub Gray. We're also now in possession of enough caps and enough time has passed to where we can buy our final gun, Little Devil, the legendary variant of the 12.7mm pistol. We already got a little guy in our arsenal, so we're just gonna call you Jerry Jr. We do a bit of hand loading to get ready and head out to confront the legendary Deathclaw. We accidentally take a wrong turn on the way and end up massacring a Night Stalker den and the headquarters of some raider gang. RIP, I guess. Deadwind Cavern is a far harder challenge than Quarry Junction. We take a bunch of deaths just trying to climb the hill to get to the cave entrance. We need to tap into our chem supply. Even with every buff conceivable, we still need to take the utmost care approaching every last encounter in this cave because stronger Deathclaws can and still will one-shot us, especially the Deathclaw mother. Codex is back to her usual tomfoolery again of running right in front of me as I'm about to shoot and dying a lot. At least she can take 2 or 3 hits compared to my 1 or 2. We are consuming every chem we can get a buff from and just barely taking the Deathclaws out one at a time considering we have very little distance between us and them. They get on us fast, so we have to cripple their legs and kill them quick. We have to get creative when confronting the Deathclaw mother, and we intentionally fire off some shots with Jerry Jr. to alert her, so she'll leave her chamber where her young are to investigate. Given the short distance, we can just barely take her out on her own, but we cannot take her out and all the young at the same time. In the end, I'm glad I did this, as this felt like a much more fair fight than when we went up against the Deathclaw mother at Quarry Junction. And that just leaves what we came here for, the legendary Deathclaw. According to the wiki, the legendary Deathclaw is level 30, does 250 points of damage per strike, and while that's less damage than the mother Deathclaw, the legendary Deathclaw is much bulkier at 1000 HP, double what a normal Deathclaw is. This fight needs to go perfectly. This is a fight where normally people are opening up with the Fat Man and then mag dumping their light machine gun, anti-material rifle, or whatever they've got that passes the 15-point damage threshold and pumps out a ton of DPS. We have none of that. We have Arnie, the brush gun, which to his credit, thanks to hand loads and the cowboy perk, does a little more than the base damage of the anti-material rifle, plus it fires a lot faster, granting it higher DPS. The walls are spitting. Everything is blue right now, and everything in my body tells me that I must kill. The first attempts don't go so well, as Codex goes full Leroy Jenkins and pulls the ads leading to a party wipe, and surprisingly, the legendary Deathclaw is sporting about the whole thing. It will just wander off if he sees you're busy dealing with another Deathclaw. I am extremely thankful that I also took the Good Eatin's perk, because we are out of stim packs and subsisting on thin red paste. Eventually, Ed E uses his combat music to lure the lesser Deathclaws in, so we can get the big guy alone.
Let us see what passes for fury among these creatures.
Eddie, be careful, this legendary Deathclaw can not only one-shot all of us, but takes one shot to kill all 3 of us. One time he kills us all so hard it crashes the game. However, after many tries, we remember that we have more chems. So on top of what's already in my system, I take enough buff out to put a, super mutant behemoth to sleep, and that lets us just tank enough damage to finally take down the legendary Deathclaw through the power of California compliance and a lot of chems. I am addicted to 4 different things now in-game and need to get to a doctor before my withdrawal debuffs put my stats into the negatives. One aggressive detoxification later, and we've got one last bonus challenge to do before we wrap things up. We have intentionally steered clear of the Legion because we needed them to tolerate us enough to activate the Platinum chip, and we had enough of the Legion kill squads in the first half of the game. Geez, I don't even want to think about what they send at us at the level we're currently at. Well, I think we're in a good enough spot to finally piss them off properly. They can't send kill squads after us if there's no one left at the fort to send. We walk up to Cottonwood Cove and choose violence. No one can even put up a fight against us, and the only survivors are the slaves we free. Fortification Hill is a great time for us to take Gray out for a spin. The Legion's putting up about as much resistance as you'd expect from a bunch of people wearing football pads and dinner plates on their chest coming at me with gardening tools, when I've got me a good old-fashioned trench broom to sweep them out of their literal trenches. I'm pretty sure that at some point the Legionnaires started breaking and fleeing from us as we steamrolled our way to the top of the hill. Heck, we had one dude straight up run out of the game map as we approached Cesar's tent. The only thing that gives us serious trouble and makes us reload a few times is Cesar's tent itself. There's a lot of high-level dudes using weapons that will stun you, and as I found out the hard way, while the 405 is great for taking out targets that usually fight from a distance, it can and will be easily parried by anyone who is good at melee. Eventually, I learned that the strategy is to run into the tent, get their attention, and then run the hell out of the tent so they'll follow me into the more open area of Fortification Hill and use the tried and true method of taking a crap load of chems and using the Phi to shift delete their head from their body. At this point, we are doing a full Disco Elysium build because I'm starting to think that my armor is talking to me.
We have broken the enemy fortification and scattered their men. Enforcement of the penal code is eternal.
Oh wait, that's just Eddie. Oh, you little scamp. This is just about it. We've done all outstanding challenges and objectives short of starting the second battle of Hoover Dam. Sure, there are other things we could probably go do, but at this point, it's just goofing around and playing the game and not really taking on the challenge. We've dealt with all the minor factions, we had the best weapons we can possibly get given our rule set, and we're almost to the base game's level cap. It's time to start advancing the main questline and taking on the second battle of Hoover Dam. I'm told that the president of New California is going to be assassinated, but there's also this switch I gotta go hit somewhere. The second thing seems like it's pretty quick and easy to do so. Oh shit, he actually died while I was out doing that. Oh no! Anyway, we can't put this off anymore. The dam must be secured. We get word that the Legion is somehow massing forces, even though I'm pretty sure I killed all of them. Like what, was there an entire other Legion just hanging out by the dam in case some crazy tried to annihilate their main force at Fortification Hill? There was? Well damn. Well, it's not like we haven't killed dozens of these dudes anyway. Codex and I stroll onto the dam like a force of nature. I can now delete non-compliant firearms just by looking at them. The Legionnaires don't provide much resistance, and if anything, they conveniently have another super sledge to give to Codex since she lost her other one while, she has somehow already lost it again. Come on, girlie, I need you to remember where you put your things down. Super sledges don't just grow on trees, you know? It doesn't matter much though, because honest to goodness, we are steamrolling through everything and everyone in front of us. We're using Gray just because we haven't had a chance to use that gun for very long, and I want to get my money's worth out of the shotgun surgeon perk. And I might have also gotten a little too excited on top of the dam and blown through all of my 4570 government. You know, now that I compared the two, this challenge went by a lot faster than the Fallout 4 California Compliance Challenge. It was a lot more fun, even with the need to constantly stave off crashes, and the weapons available to me made this a lot easier for the bulk of the game since, you know, there were weapons that fit the description of the challenge. Comparing the two, where Fallout 4 took me 90 hours, we're storming the Legion's forward camp as they're attacking the dam at around 35 hours, and we're getting through this pretty fast. I might even say to try this one over the Fallout 4 challenge if you want to take this on yourself until... Wait. Oh shit, it's the guy that runs the podcast. I was pretty sure before this fight that FNV was the easier of the two to do the CA compliance challenge in, but then we got to confronting Lanius. We have no more chems. We are out of 4570 government. Ed E is missing.
My armor has been compromised. Communications module damaged. Lost connection to California Codes Authority. I cannot move.
Hey, wait, what? Ah shit, they got Eddie! We're about to go up against a character that like 99.99% of people speech check, and for a good reason. And after the next 2.5 hours, I'm pretty sure that this fight wasn't meant to be done on the difficulty we're playing it at. Let me tell you about Legate Lanius. At a damage threshold of 19, at least according to his stats page, he has a 4 higher DT than the legendary Deathclaw we took on earlier, and nearly as much HP too. His main weapon, the Blade of the East, is the second highest DPS bladed weapon in the game, and it will knock you on your ass a lot. He carries 5 doses of a special healing powder that literally only he has and is 3 times more effective than the normal stuff. He is coded to always be a significantly higher level than the player character, and if that wasn't enough, Lanius has a whole gang of Praetorians around him and will call for even more reinforcements later in the fight. And that's just the base stats. We run up to Lanius and talk some mad shit, because as per the rules of this challenge, we have to choose violence. Big mistake. I get in a good few shots with the 5, but it's not nearly enough to get any meaningful damage on him before he and the Praetorians get a total party kill on us. I switch things over to Gray, loaded with 12 gauge Magnum, and that does decently chip away at Lanius's HP bar if I can get consistent headshots, but it's not nearly enough damage to get to low enough HP to where he runs away and then reappears with a fresh group of soldiers to fight me with. I tried fighting melee with him using the thermic lance. Big mistake. Not only does Lanius easily parry the 405, but I also get knockdown spammed and then my whole HP pool is turned to mulch. I need to stay out of melee range as much as possible. I have a damage threshold of 39 based on my gear and my perks, and Lanius still is capable of 2-shotting me. Most people, if they do this, go in with a Fat Man, the anti-material rifle, Euclid Seafinder, or an insane amount of explosives, since that's like the only thing Lanius doesn't resist. The toughest thing we have right now is the 5, since I didn't ration my ammo properly leading up to this. You might have noticed by now that some stuff in the footage you're seeing of this fight just doesn't look quite right, and yeah, this fight is heavily scripted to where Lanius straight up cheats at a few places. How does he cheat? Let me count the ways. First of which I found out the hard way. You know the tried and true strategy that carried us for a lot of this run where we can cripple an enemy's arm so they'll drop their weapon? Yeah, Lanius says no. I think he might be the only character in 3 or New Vegas to do this, but it is literally impossible to make him drop his weapon. You can cripple his arms, you can shoot the hell out of the Blade of the East directly, he will never ever drop it. Speaking of crippling Lanius, did you cripple his legs? No, you didn't, silly. Even if Lanius's legs are both down to 0, he moves at nearly twice the player's speed, which would create the otherwise comical effect where he runs away to heal because of course that little bitch was his out as things stopped going his way, where he moonwalks away from you at super speed while throwing incendiary grenades at you. Oh yeah, the grenades. Lanius also doesn't like it when you try to take him on in any way that isn't favorable to him. He can call it honor or whatever, but I call it him having a hissy fit that I didn't want to go up against a character coded to be better than I could possibly be at melee, and he wills frag grenades into existence. Not the incendiary grenades he has on his inventory, mind you. Despite what the wikis say about his inventory having his armor, his sword, the incendiary grenades, a 9mm pistol in case you like try to no-clip, and the healing powder, we'll get into it more in a sec, Lanius doesn't have any frag grenades in his inventory, at least as far as I can tell. He just wills these into existence and throws them at you with pinpoint accuracy. And you know what's even better? You can't shoot these grenades out of the sky like you can do with like any other thrown projectile. In the sake of fairness on that one, I looked into it because I could have sworn I used to do this all the time, and according to various forum posts over the last 15 years, this was allegedly broken in some patch and never fixed. It still doesn't make it any less bullshit that if you try to engage Lanius from a distance, he will just will grenades into existence. At least if you're really, really fast, you can shoot his hand right before he throws them and they'll explode. The fun doesn't stop there though. Are you trying to be cute and maneuvering into a spot where you're too close to Lanius for him to throw a grenade, but also lower down on the hill where he'll have to run down the slope to get you? Well, at the price of affording you a few good shots before he can retaliate, fuck you. Lanius flies now. I swear you'd think I'd be making this shit up if I didn't have footage. Speaking of flying, in case you've never done this fight before, at a certain point, Legion veterans will appear on ledges where you can't get to them and start shooting at you with marksman carbines with pinpoint accuracy no matter how far away you are from them. Like, I swear it's not even actually shooting me, but instead I'm just losing a steady stream of health whenever they're firing at me because it's just so dang accurate. How did the veterans get up there? Well, They fly too. They are literally floating in the sky above you and will fly down to the ledges once Lanius hits a certain HP threshold. I learned about these guys when I kept trying to target Lanius in VATS and it kept locking onto them. Also, if you somehow manage to shoot these guys, they aggro and stay in the sky forever, or they will eventually kill you because they're high up in the air and there is nowhere you can hide from them anymore and they're next to impossible to hit. Never mind the whole horde of guys that show up from literally nowhere after Lanius runs away like a little bitch and comes back at full health. Oh, yeah, remember those super special healing powders he has? Something's a little off there too. According to in-game stats, this stuff heals 3 HP for 27 seconds. Lanius has 5 of them, which means he can theoretically recover a smidge over 400 HP over the course of 30 seconds. I call shenanigans. Lanius has close to 1000 HP, and according to what's in his inventory, he can only heal at most 40% of his health pool. Except for he heals way more than that, going all the way back up to full health if you aren't on his ass the whole time while he's running away healing, assuming you can even keep up with him since we've already established he moves at nearly twice the speed of the player regardless of limb condition while he is hurling incendiary grenades at you, all while doing a pretty impressive moonwalk. Oh yeah, also, all of his limbs get miraculously repaired when he starts healing too, because fuck you, player, that's why. According to multiple wikis I've checked, this is all scripted, because of course it is. And I think that's also part of the reason why the rest of the stuff happens. There seems to be so much scripted bullshit in this fight that it inadvertently makes it even harder because all the scripting causes the game to get a little weird even by New Vegas standards. VATS will just break sometimes where despite you having a clear line of sight to your target and more than enough clearance to shoot at them without fear of getting attacked in the process, VATS will just freeze up for the most agonizing 20 to 30 seconds at a time where the Praetorians and Lanius will just kill your companions and possibly you too, and you won't even be able to fire the shots you planned out in VATS. Also, while I would love to say that gamer cliche of how for Lanius to win, he has to kill me every time forever, and then for me to win, I just have to kill him once, that is not the case. I had to kill Lanius 4 different times. One time, I was gotten dead to rights by the veteran legionaries after focusing down the big man. One time, I killed him, had dealt with the ads, but mysteriously the Legion veterans, who were already a little weird for flying down from the heavens to their vantage point to snipe at me, were also able to shoot me from around a corner where they probably shouldn't have been, and I died. Then there was one time where I had downed Lanius, dealt with the snipers, and was in the process of cleaning up the rest of the veteran legionaries, but I guess the game wasn't having that, so it just decided to crash instead of letting me win. Hey, would you guys mind if I just, real quick, I just... Hello, old friend. Now let me tell you how we beat this guy. First, we instigate the fight from the bottom of the hill he is standing on. If we do it from the ledge opposite from him, while that does have good sight lines, that'll cause him to throw more grenades than we can handle. We start by shooting at him with whatever we've got from ADS, but not from VATS just yet. Once we get enough hits on him to where he aggroes, we wait for him to move his arm as the frag grenade spawns in his hand while he runs at us, and then we enter VATS, aiming only at his grenade. While we cannot hit his grenades midair, we can still hit them in his hand, which cause them to explode, which not only does more damage than we can do with, say, our cowboy repeater, but that'll teach him about using banned weapons. Also, since he was already running towards us as the grenade goes off, he'll be too close to us for his AI to throw another grenade at us by the time everything ends, which will almost always land right at our feet and cripple our limbs on top of the damage the grenade does. Our companions are now going to run forward and soak up the aggro. Let them. While they tank and eventually die after 20 to 30 seconds, they will significantly damage the ads, or at the very least, the wide swings of Lanius' Blade of the East will do enough friendly fire damage to bring down a few of them, and we can focus down on Lanius during the chaos. He will eventually run off like a little bitch as we are pushed back when our companions fall. Rather than pressing the advantage, we take advantage of this to kill any remaining Praetorians and then run back to the walls of corrugated steel. There is one of the Legion snipers that will still be able to shoot at us, but he's close enough to where we can easily take him out. The other will try to hit you, realize that he can't from his vantage point because we are literally around a hard corner of the map, and he will jump down, making him easy pickings. You should be able to deal with them and then run back up to the top of the hill by the time Lanius is done healing. Also, every moment you are not immediately being attacked, you should be taking healing items to keep your HP up. Running back towards him will help too, because as he heals, he throws his incendiary grenades, which his adds are not resistant to. Take advantage of the friendly fire again, and then start kiting him with whatever you've got, leading him towards the top of the hill where you should have confronted him. Keep moving backwards, waiting for him to fire only when he swings his blade and you are clear of the hurt box. And then don't reload, swap your weapons. If you get to the top of the hill, just drop down and repeat the process while reloading until he is dead. It should be a lot easier as most of his adds will be gone at this point thanks to friendly fire and the time you got to clean up while Lanius was running away. Once Lanius is down, make sure the snipers are gone if they somehow aren't already and make a safety save. If you were keeping up with spamming your healing items, you should be basically close to full health by the time any remaining Praetorians or veterans come near you. Do the last bits of cleanup and then for the love of God, save. We did it. It took us 2.5 hours and we died more in this fight than the rest of this entire challenge run combined, but we did it. Oh hey, level up. Now all that's left is clicking our way through the end game. Wait, I forgot about the NCR Rangers. Well, shit. I spent every last resource I had fighting Lanius and friends, and I forgot that after the extremely bullshit fight against Lanius, there is an even more extremely bullshit fight against General Oliver and his NCR Rangers that on our difficulty is effectively impossible. And I am not exaggerating about that. You see, Oliver and friends will only spawn in after you totally clear out Lanius and his legion, and only when you approach the gates. You will then be moved by the game into a specific spot to be put into a combination of cutscene and dialogue and have no way of instigating the fight from a distance or doing literally anything other than being put in the center of a firing squad of NCR Rangers. I honest to God tried to fight these assholes, but I am again in the center of an actual firing squad with no cover, surrounded by dudes rocking Ranger Sequoias. Even with my fully repaired power armor and both tiers of toughness, these guys will kill me just about as fast as the legendary Deathclaw did if I picked the wrong dialogue options. The Securitrons don't do a damn thing, despite the context of the situation implying they do otherwise. Lucky for me, I didn't save after applying my points on leveling up, and at this point I feel I've completed the spirit of the challenge despite every bad faith action by this game. I dump all my skill points into speech, which only gets me to 99. But then I take a tier of the intense training perk and get one more point into charisma, which brings my speech up to 100. Then with a speech check, I convince General Oliver to just let me throw him off the Hoover Dam, and the credits roll. And we did it. We beat all of Fallout New Vegas on very hard and hardcore mode active with no automatic weapons, no assault style rifles, no guns with a magazine of more than 10 rounds, no grenades or explosives or anything that could be considered a destructive device, no concealable weapons, no armor piercing, incendiary or poison munitions, no looting guns or ammo off enemies, and we did it all while waiting 10 in-game days before we were allowed to use any of the guns we legally purchased from a licensed vendor after passing a background check. I want to thank you all and also say a few things about this challenge post-mortem real quick. First and foremost, you are totally okay to try this challenge on your own if you wanna, and free to use any of the stuff I made, like the master list of guns you are and are not allowed to use, or the rule set. I also give you my blessing if anyone wants to do this challenge themselves and then make their own video documenting their suffering. I'm happy to do this because one of the reasons why it took me a lot longer to research this rule set for the challenge than actually playing through the game is that I kept running into articles on the first few search results for key terms I needed to find out more about, and they kept saying things they attributed to statutes that simply, the statutes did not say that. And, oh, that's an M dash. Ah, crap. Yeah, I had to ignore everything that wasn't from the Office of the Attorney General of the state of California or the actual code's text, and I'm not so much of a sadist that I'd make anyone else do this research and wade through tons of questionable secondary sources if they want to try this out. Heck, I've even made a 4th page of this document with some notes on what worked and what didn't for my run of this challenge, and I'll go over a couple of the big things now. First off, I have changed the goals to be just finishing the game, as that Lanius fight was just absurd. Maybe it's better if you have some sort of fan patch that rebalances the fights and maybe fixes some of that scripting, but as I played it, it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in a video game. I don't deny that I could have, approached it better. Maybe saving my 4570 government rounds for the big man himself, and maybe taking on Arcade as a companion just to get the Enclave on my side during that fight. But the whole thing was nuts. Choosing violence against Lanius or whatever your final encounter is should be considered an ultra stretch goal if you're feeling really confident about your build. Secondly, Recently, I really underestimated how useful the Thorn could be for your mid-game weapon collection. Don't sleep on doing the Bleed Me Dry quest. There's more stuff in the document for you to look over if you're really interested. I want to give a big thank you again to Triggernomics for helping me vet my bans and allowed guns for this challenge, and I also want to thank all of you for watching. If you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe so you can see the next one. I've got big plans for 2026, and they may or may not involve both Fallout and California compliance. I've got a ton of new ideas for fun new challenges that both challenge myself and what I hope will end up being fun to watch, such as forcing myself to physically carry everything my player character carries in-game in equivalent distance. We're also going to do Abiotic Factor, and maybe even some Project Zomboid. If you really want to see how these get made, I actually streamed all of this challenge, including the mental breakdown I had fighting Legate Lanius, and I plan to stream as much of my challenge attempts as possible. The link's in the description, and if you can't make it to the streams, I finally done what I should have gotten around to for the last 13 years and made a second channel for stream highlights and things that just don't quite fit this channel. I have no idea why it took me so long to do that. If you really want to help me out, I do run that Patreon where you can get videos early and see how these big projects are coming along. There's also free updates for anyone that wants to follow along but isn't ready to pledge yet, and there will be some Patreon exclusive videos in the near future. There might even be one or two on the page right now that I'm making free for everyone. I don't know how much you've seen about how things have been going here on the platform, but patronage is now more important than ever. I'm sure at least 3 or 4 channels you follow have already told you the score about this, so I won't waste your time here. Oh, and one last thing. After nearly 4 years of it being private, I have opened the Discord to the public again. Please do not make me regret this. For now though, we're gonna sign off how we've always signed off. Remember that no matter what you do, be it drawing, dancing, painting, or any sort of craft, what you do should never be called content. It is art. It is your art. Content is a word that in recent years has been twisted into meaning a means to reduce all your skills, passions, and aspirations into a gray sludge that's meant for nothing more than making a line go up, and your art in no way deserves that. Art is sacred. Art is inalienably a reflection of its creator through the very act of its creation, and in no way do you deserve to be reduced down into content. So get out there and fight for yourself by fighting against the contentification of everything, by fighting for your art. Stay saucy, and I'll see you all at MagFest.
Sir, why were you assaulting the Blu-rays? I know we don't watch them very often, but I saw you swatting at Dune, which even though I bought, I have not bothered to watch yet. There he goes. Why are you attacking the Blu-rays? What is in there? Yeah, at least he ain't going after my Godzilla collection. Sir! Seriously, is there something in there? He's just swatting it specifically. No, don't attack. I've had those since elementary school. Do not attack the Godzilla box set. Are you just rubbing against the texture of the DVDs? I know you like the texture of like laminated cardboard. Oh, are you trying to reorganize? Sir! Sir! Oh, God damn it. Sir, you are not a movie. I'm not even sure you have subtitles. Oh, you're not even gonna go in there? I can't believe you. I'm gonna have to fix that. I just cannot believe this boy.